You're standing in an open field. It's night. Somewhere around 40,000 years ago, in a world with no cities, no words for what you're about to see, no explanation for anything. And then the sky splits open. A crack of white-hot light tears across the darkness. For half a second, night becomes day. You see everything. The trees, the hills, the faces of the people huddled next to you. And then, boom! The sound hits your chest like a fist. The ground trembles. A tree at the edge of the field explodes into flame, and you watch fire fall from the sky and eat the world in front of you. Now, here's the thing. You don't know what electricity is. You don't know about clouds or static or ions or physics. You have no science, no books, no answers. All you have is your own beating heart and one single overwhelming thought. Something up there is angry, and it is looking at us. That moment, that raw, terrified, jaw-on-the-floor moment, happened to nearly every human who ever lived before about 300 years ago. And the way our ancestors tried to explain it, it didn't just create gods and monsters and myths. It literally shaped religion, law, kingship, science, and the entire way we understand the universe today. So let's get into it. What did ancient humans actually think when lightning struck? And why does it still matter more than you'd ever guess? Real quick before we dive in, if you're the kind of person who loves this stuff, the weird, buried history that nobody talks about, do me one tiny favor. Smash that like button. Seriously, it takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm to show this to more curious people like you. And hit subscribe while you're at it, because we go down these rabbit holes every single week. Okay, let's go find some angry gods. Let's start with something obvious that we almost never think about. Lightning is terrifying. Even today, even now, when you know exactly what it is. When a storm rolls in and the sky lights up right over your house, some ancient part of your brain still flinches, still tells you to get inside, still whispers, that could kill you. And it's right. Lightning is one of the most violent natural events a human being can witness up close. A single bolt carries around 1 billion volts. It's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. It moves faster than you can blink. And it comes with a sound so loud, it feels like the sky is breaking apart. Now imagine experiencing that with zero understanding of what it is. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know why it picks the tree it picks. You don't know if it'll pick you next. It's random. It's deadly. It falls from above, from the one place you can't reach, can't fight, can't run from. So put yourself in those shoes. If something powerful, invisible, and deadly kept striking from the sky, wouldn't you assume someone up there was doing it on purpose? That's exactly what they thought. And that one assumption, that lightning was a decision, not an accident, is where the whole story begins. Here's the first big idea our ancestors landed on, and it's beautifully simple. If lightning comes down, someone up there must be throwing it. Think about it from their point of view. In their world, things that flew through the air and hit hard were thrown. Rocks, spears, arrows.
So a bolt of fire hurled from the sky?
Same logic, bigger scale. Somebody enormous, somebody living above the clouds was chucking weapons at the earth. And this idea shows up everywhere, all over the world, in cultures that never met, never talked, never shared a single word. That's what makes it so wild.
The Greeks had Zeus, king of the gods, ruler of the sky, and his signature weapon was the thunderbolt.
When Zeus was angry, he threw lightning. When you did something to offend the gods, you'd better watch the sky.
The Romans took that same god and called him Jupiter. Same deal, sky king, lightning thrower.
Way up north, the Norse had Thor. Red beard, bad temper, and a hammer named Mjolnir that created thunder and lightning every time he swung it. When Vikings heard thunder crack across the sky, they didn't think cold front. They thought Thor is out there fighting giants.
And it doesn't stop in Europe.
In West Africa, the Yoruba people had Shango, a fierce, powerful god of thunder and lightning who hurled fire from the heavens. In Slavic mythology, there was Perun, the supreme sky god, armed with lightning. In the Baltic, Perkunas. In Hindu tradition, Indra wielded the Vajra, a thunderbolt weapon. Even across the ocean, the indigenous peoples of North America told stories of the Thunderbird, a giant bird whose flapping wings made thunder and whose eyes flashed lightning. Do you see the pattern here? Different continents, different languages, thousands of years apart, and they all landed on almost the exact same answer.
A powerful being living in the sky, throwing fire at the earth.
That's not a coincidence. That's the human brain all over the planet, staring up at the same terrifying sky and reaching for the same comfort. If someone's in control, then maybe, just maybe, we can figure out how to keep them happy.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and a little dark.
If lightning is a god throwing fire, then where it lands isn't random.
It means something.
Think about what that does to your worldview. A bolt comes down and splits a tree in your village.
To you, that's not weather. That's a message. That's the sky reaching down and touching one specific spot on purpose. The question isn't what happened. The question is, what were they trying to tell us? And this belief had enormous consequences.
The Romans took it incredibly seriously. If a place was struck by lightning, they believed it had been touched by the god Jupiter himself. That ground became sacred. They'd wall it off. They'd bury the spot with a special ceremony, like a funeral for a piece of earth, and they'd mark it so no one would disturb it.
They even had professional priests whose environment job was to interpret lighting, where it struck, what direction it came from, what it meant for the future.
Lightning wasn't a disaster. It was divine mail. And here's the part that really messes with your head. What do you think it meant if lightning struck a person? In a lot of ancient cultures, being struck by lightning was seen as a direct verdict from the gods. Sometimes it meant you were cursed, that you'd done something terrible and the sky had judged you and carried out the sentence. Imagine the horror of that. Someone you love dies in a storm, and your entire community believes it's proof they'd angered a god. But get this, in some cultures, it flipped completely. Being struck by lightning meant you'd been chosen, marked, touched by the divine. There were traditions where a person or place hit by lightning was treated as holy, blessed, set apart.
Same event, total opposite meaning.
That's the fascinating thing about how humans handle the unexplained.
When we don't know buying science head, when just shrug, we breathe disaffoded. We turn the
Okay, let's step back for a second, because I want to show you something that changes this whole story. We've been talking about fear, about angry gods and divine punishment. But lightning gave our ancestors something else too. Something that might be the single most important thing that ever happened to our species. Fire. Here's what most people don't realize. Early humans didn't invent fire. They found it. And one of the main places they found it? Lightning strikes. A bolt hits a dry tree, a patch of grass, a field, and suddenly there's fire burning right there in the open. For the first humans, that was the only fire they had access to. They couldn't make it yet. They could only take it. Grab a burning branch, carry it home, and guard that flame like their lives depended on it. Because they did. Think about what fire gave them. Warmth to survive the cold, light to push back the dark, protection from predators who feared the flames, and cooking, which let humans get way more nutrition from food, which helped fuel bigger, more powerful brains. Some scientists genuinely believe that controlling fire is one of the reasons we became us. And where did that gift come from originally? The sky, lightning. So now imagine you're an early human holding this incredible, life-changing power in your hands, fire. And you know it came falling out of the heavens. Of course you think it's sacred. Of course you think it belongs to the gods. You're literally holding a piece of the sky's power. This is why fire shows up as holy in so many religions. Eternal flames kept burning in temples, sacred fires that were never allowed to go out. Fire used in rituals, in ceremonies, in the most important moments of human life. That reverence didn't come from nowhere. It came from the memory, deep in our history, of fire as a gift and a weapon that came from above. The very thing that terrified them also saved them, and they never forgot it. So for tens of thousands of years, the answer was the same. Lightning is the gods. End of story. And then, around 2,500 years ago, something incredible happened. A few people in ancient Greece started asking a dangerous new question. What if it's not the gods at all? There was a philosopher named Anaximander, and later others, who began to suggest something radical. Maybe thunder and lightning weren't Zeus at all. Maybe they were caused by wind, by natural forces, by stuff happening in the clouds that had nothing to do with anyone's anger. Now, I want you to understand how bold that was. This wasn't just a science lesson. This was a person standing up in a world that fully believed in sky gods and saying, actually, I think there might be a natural explanation. That took serious guts. In fact, questioning the gods could get you in real trouble. It could get you accused of crimes against religion itself. But that tiny crack, that first what if, was the beginning of something huge. It was the beginning of humans trying to explain the world instead of just fearing it. And it would take more than 2,000 more years before someone finally proved it. Fast forward all the way to the 1700s and meet a man who decided he was going to catch lightning and figure out what it actually was. Benjamin Franklin. Now, you've probably heard the story. Franklin, a kite, a key, a storm. And a lot of the popular version is exaggerated. But the core idea behind what he was doing, genuinely revolutionary. Franklin had a hunch. He suspected that lightning wasn't some divine mystery at all. He thought it was electricity, the same crackling force he'd been experimenting with in his lab, the same spark you get when you rub your feet on carpet and touch a doorknob. He believed the terrifying fire of the gods and that tiny little zap were the same thing, just at wildly different scales. And he was right. Think about what that means. For 40,000 years, humans looked at lightning and saw the will of the gods, punishment, judgment, messages from the heavens. And then one man essentially said, nope, it's electricity, and I can prove it. But Franklin didn't stop at understanding it. He did something even bolder. He decided to defeat it. Franklin invented the lightning rod. And I know, that sounds boring. It's just a metal pole, right? But stop and really think about what it represents. For all of human history, lightning had been the ultimate symbol of powers beyond our control. The weapon of the gods. The one force that struck from above and could not be stopped, could not be reasoned with, could not be defended against. Entire religions were built on the terror of it. And Benjamin Franklin invented a stick that beats it. The lightning rod is genius in its simplicity. You put a metal rod on top of a building, connect it to the ground with a wire, and when lightning strikes, the bolt hits the rod instead of the building. The rod carries all that deadly energy safely down into the earth, where it can't hurt anyone. Suddenly, buildings that used to burn down could survive. Churches with tall steeples, which got struck constantly, could finally protect themselves. Do you understand how huge that was? Humans took the weapon of the gods and gave it a safe place to land. We didn't just explain lightning, we disarmed it. And here's a detail I love. At the time, some religious people were actually against lightning rods. They felt it was arrogant, like humans were interfering with the will of God, dodging divine punishment they were meant to receive. Imagine that debate, people genuinely arguing over whether it was okay to protect your house from a god. But the rods worked. Buildings stopped burning. And little by little, the fear that had haunted humanity for tens of thousands of years began to fade. Lightning went from a divine mystery to a solved problem. From the wrath of Zeus to a line in a physics textbook. So that's the arc, right? Terror, then gods, then science, then a metal stick. Case closed. Except it's not that simple. Because that ancient fear, it never fully went away. It just changed shape. And it left fingerprints all over the modern world. Look at our language. When we say someone was thunderstruck or that an idea hit us like a bolt from the blue, or that news was electrifying. We're using words born from that ancient awe of the sky. When we talk about a bolt of inspiration, we're echoing thousands of years of people believing that flashes of power came from somewhere beyond us. Look at our stories. Some of the most popular characters in the world are still built on this. Thor is one of the biggest superheroes on the planet, a god of thunder, with a hammer throwing lightning. The exact same idea the Vikings believed 1,000 years ago, now selling movie tickets. Wonder Woman, Zeus, Shazam, lightning powers are everywhere in our myths, and they always mean the same thing: overwhelming, godlike strength. And look at how we feel. Go stand outside during a big thunderstorm sometime. Watch the sky flash and feel the thunder roll through your chest. And notice that even though you know exactly what it is, even though you could explain the physics, some part of you still feels small, still feels awe, still feels that ancient tug of something powerful is out there. That feeling is a gift from our ancestors. It's the same jaw-dropping wonder that made them invent gods, build temples, write laws, and eventually ask the questions that led to science. The fear didn't just haunt us, it drove us. It pushed us to explain, to build, to understand. Our entire journey from cave to laboratory started with people looking up at a storm and refusing to stop wondering. So let's go back to that field, 40,000 years ago. You, standing in the dark, watching fire fall from the sky, absolutely certain that something up there is angry and it's looking at you. That terrified human and you, watching this right now, are connected by a single unbroken thread. They looked up at lightning and asked why, and they never stopped asking. That question got passed down, generation after generation, through myths and gods and temples and philosophers, and one guy with a kite, all the way down to you. Lightning is just electricity. We know that now. It's clouds and charge and physics. There's no God throwing it, no judgment in where it lands, no message in the fire. But the story of how we figured that out, that's one of the greatest stories our species ever lived. It's the story of how fear became curiosity, how curiosity became knowledge, and how a bunch of terrified people staring at an angry sky slowly, stubbornly, brilliantly turned that terror into understanding. Our ancestors thought lightning was the gods. Turns out the real power was never in the sky at all. It was in us, in that little voice that refused to stop asking why. And that voice, it's still going. It's the reason you're here right now. It's the reason we keep looking up. Hey, if you made it all the way to the end, you're my kind of person. Genuinely, thank you for hanging out. If this made you look at a thunderstorm a little differently, do me that favor. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We've got so many more of these stories coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Until then, keep looking up and keep asking why. I'll see you in